They came from the cold winds of Turkestan, not as conquerors, but as believers, carrying not crowns and thrones, but faith. From tents in the vast steppe, they would rise to become the shield of Islam and the saviors of the Caliphate. They were the sons of the bow and the prayer mat. They were the Seljuks. When the Abbasid Caliphate had grown weak and fractured, when the world of Islam was bleeding under sectarian war and crusader advance, Allah sent forth a new people, forged in hardship, who bowed to none but Him. The Turks, once wandering tribes, embraced Islam not for conquest, but for conviction. Their leader, Seljuk ibn Dukak, a man of wisdom and courage, led his tribe westward, his faith stronger than any wall, his people disciplined as an army of prayer. From the tents of Merv to the plains of Khorasan, his descendants would become the guardians of the Muslim world. It was Tughril Beg, grandson of Seljuk, who took the banner of his forefathers and carried it to destiny. Under his command, the Seljuk tribes united, fierce horsemen bound not by blood, but by creed. He swept through the lands of Khorasan, broke the armies of corrupt rulers, and restored justice where oppression had reigned. When the Caliph in Baghdad, the shadow of the Prophet on earth, called for protection from the chaos that engulfed the lands, Tughril answered. He rode not as a usurper, but as a servant of the faith. When he entered Baghdad, the Caliph himself came forth to greet him. The city that once trembled under division now echoed with the takbir. The Caliph placed a crown upon Tughril's head, not as a king, but as a guardian, and declared before the world, "This man is the sword of Islam, the defender of the Caliphate." For the first time in generations, the banner of unity rose again. But it was Alp Arslan, the lion of the Seljuks, who transformed this unity into a legend. A warrior of unmatched courage and humility, he saw his duty not in ruling men, but in defending their faith. Under his reign, the Seljuk realm expanded from the borders of India to the heart of Anatolia. Yet he ruled not by fear, his justice was swift, his mercy profound. Then came the day of destiny, the Battle of Manzikert. The year was 1071. The armies of Byzantium, led by Emperor Romanus Diogenes, marched with arrogance and thundered with pride. They sought to destroy Islam in Anatolia, to erase the Turks from history. Alp Arslan, outnumbered and outmatched, dismounted his horse before the battle. He prayed to Rakas and cried out, "Ya Allah, if you grant us victory today, it will be for your religion. If I fall, let it be in your path." He wore his white robe, not as armor, but as his shroud. Then he turned to his soldiers and said, "I am not commanding you today as a sultan, but as a believer. Whoever wishes to do with me, let him follow me." The men roared with Takbir Allahu Akbar and charged like thunder across the field. The sky over Manzikert turned black with arrows. The Byzantine army shattered like glass. And when the dust settled, the emperor himself stood in chains before Alp Arslan. The conqueror bowed his head, saying, "What would you have done if I were your prisoner?" Romanus replied, "Perhaps I would have killed you." Alp Arslan smiled softly and said, "But I will not kill you. I forgive you." That day, Anatolia was opened, not conquered, for Islam, and the world trembled at the mercy of a Muslim warrior. The gates of what would one day become the Ottoman heartland were opened by the hands of the Seljuks. After Alp Arslan came his son, Malik Shah, a ruler of vision and knowledge. He was not merely a king of armies, he was the builder of civilization. Under his reign, the Seljuk state became a beacon of learning, law, and faith. He commissioned scholars to reform the calendar, founded the Nizamiya schools, and elevated the pursuit of knowledge as a form of worship. It was under Nizam al-Mulk, his great vizier, that the science of governance was refined into art. This man, one of the wisest to ever serve a throne, wrote the immortal Siyasatna, the Book of Government. In each page, he laid down the principles of justice, mercy, and order that would guide Muslim rulers for centuries. He declared, "The world can survive with disbelief, but not with injustice," under Malik Shah. Cities like Isfahan, Ray, and Nishapur blossomed into centers of art, architecture, and learning. Scholars debated under mosque domes. Calligraphers filled the libraries with beauty. Jurists, poets, and astronomers thrived. And in the West, his generals carved the path through Anatolia, preparing the way for the next era of Muslim power. Yet, even in their golden age, the Seljuks faced storms within. The seeds of division and jealousy, the poison that once destroyed the Abbasids, began to grow again. Rival princes fought over succession. Assassins, backed by the Batiniya sect, began to strike from the shadows. They murdered viziers, generals, and scholars, and even the great Nizam al-Mulk himself fell to their blade. It was a wound that the Seljuks would never fully heal from. Still, their faith did not waver. For every fallen vizier, a new scholar rose. For every lost province, another was built stronger. Their legacy was not only in conquest, but in preservation of the caliphate, of knowledge, of Islam itself. The Seljuks became the bridge between eras. They were the torchbearers between the Abbasids and the Ottomans. They opened the lands of Anatolia for the future caliphate, protected the Ummah from both Crusaders in the west and sectarian revolt in the east. They restored the honor of the caliph, upheld the banner of justice, and proved that faith, when held with conviction, can move the mountains of history. When the last Seljuk Sultan closed his eyes, his realm had changed the map of the world. His empire had stretched from the gates of China to the shores of the Mediterranean. But more than land, they left behind an inheritance of light. They reawakened the spirit of Islam in an age of darkness, and from their legacy the Ottoman Caliphate would rise. They were not merely rulers, they were guardians. They were not conquerors, they were openers. And as long as justice is remembered, the name of the Seljuks will echo through the corridors of time. The Seljuks, guardians of the Caliphate,